Pecha Kucha 8, Premiere Pro, and the Hero's Quest. So this week I'm trying to visualize how I'm going to do my little Premiere Pro 1 minute movie for university, and I'm going to talk about the Hero's Quest, which is something our dissertation studio looked at, which is very useful. So here are my scribbles, my storyboard one for my Premiere Pro. I'm trying to visualize kind of wordplay, like in the middle, Holborn is the poem says Holborn is crossed. I've represented the hill that Holborn is, type as image. I'll be doing a lot of kind of visual plays on the poetry that is being used as the basis for the imagery. The only thing that will hold me back is the time it takes to actually make these things happen in Premiere Pro. So I did a few test runs. Just the idea of a cart, horse and cart going across the scenery. I animated it in Photoshop. Wasn't as easy as I remember doing it, but I did do it. I've got like 1 second or whatever. But it's there's the stuff to build on. James Taylor, that's a picture of him. He's going to have the cart coming out of his mouth, some kind of Monty Python surrealist stuff that will go on to the thing I just showed previous. I'm putting all these things out of sequence because I'm still trying to figure out everything, sourcing images, how to animate, what to import and export from Premiere Pro. I want to do something with monoprinting or some kind of just strong illustrative thing. The horses, I'd like to have them neigh. I'd like to have the sound file. That doesn't seem too difficult to source, but making it look how it is in my head, where the horses kind of turn a bit and then you hear the neigh. This is the kind of thing that for 3 seconds will probably take like 3 days. The idea of using kind of like my cutout templates from last week, using that as text and then having image behind it and kind of playing with that is something that I've done a test of. It's possible, but I have to pick the right text, I have to pick the right footage. Moving on to cool stuff that I didn't do. Batwoman, New 52, second volume. This stuff is good. Makes me want to actually do what I want to do in the first place, which is do the comics. Batwoman has some spectacular layout. It has great use of color. The plot's not bad either. So here's an example of a kind of dynamic double-page spread. I always thought of double-page spreads differently from the way I keep seeing them used in comics. You lose a bit of it because of the spine of the book. So actually, this may be a rare instance where looking at the PDF is better than looking at the real comic book for me. Batwoman seems to, well, I don't want to say jump, but it tends to employ different art styles based on kind of who's in the page and what's going on. So Batwoman's all dynamic action, and then when you've got kind of maybe more talky like this as well, it's a bit more restrained with simple rectangular panel things. There's still dynamism going on here. I'm looking at the right side in the kind of diagonal layout of the panels, which actually works, and it's kind of almost contrary to the way you read a page. And yeah, here's at the back, I love it when graphic novels do this. They give you a bit of the script, they give you some of the pencils or the inks before the color and stuff. Helps make you realize that you don't end up with the finished thing from the start. Still, the line work is finished. And yeah, well, moving on. Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces that effectively boils down the myth across all cultures into kind of several archetypes that are still with us today. And you can see the bottom of this picture, you've actually got Luke Skywalker. So here's a brief kind of overview of some of the stages. You've got the hero at the start who feels out of place, Luke Skywalker on Tatooine. Mr. Anderson, Neo, talking to his boss. His boss says, "You think you're special? You're not." He thinks he is, just like Luke does. They meet a mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi or Morpheus, who says, "You know what? Maybe there is more to this. There's this promise of this journey, and they don't have to take it alone. There's someone to show them the way." There are a lot of other examples of this. I just picked these two because honestly, it's It's a pain in the ass to grab all the additional pictures to do things like Harry Potter and the Lion King and stuff. Some kind of trial is undergone by the hero, who then overcomes and realizes some or all of his potential. Luke Skywalker blocking lasers blindfolded with this helmet down. Neo dodging bullets, showing that maybe, just maybe, he is the one. The mentor is no longer needed. Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course, losing to Darth Vader. Luke goes on his own. Morpheus is captured by the agents. Neo mounts a rescue, reversing their role of sort of who's in power. Some of these examples may be the wrong bits of the film, but they mostly stand up. The hero slays the beast, as it were. Neo blows up Mr. Anderson. Luke Skywalker blows up the Death Star. They have achieved a strong element of heroism and therefore have earned the right to be called hero. The victorious return, the award ceremony at the end of the first Star Wars film, where Luke is acknowledged in the canon as a hero. Neo at the end of the first film flying, showing that he is definitely the one. And there you go. So yeah, things I need to do for the future. I need to restructure the way I kind of base my day, so I have more time to do everything I need to do. I've got to really do some reading and start writing my dissertation. My Southampton project is due in a matter of weeks, and I'm messing around doing a full Smiley Show comic book, 30 pages, and a Premiere Pro workshop. That Premiere Pro movie, that's not particularly clever. I need to actually do the Smiley Show for serious, so I can sort out a Patreon for it, and so people can actually start reading it. Need to sort out a portfolio for internships, and because I'd like to show people what I do, because that might be helpful, and I need to actually dedicate some time to getting better at my craft. Can you imagine? Yeah, so those are some of the things I have to think about for the next week and try and do, but you know me. Well, that brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 8. I will see you next time.